Let me tell you something, Jim Ross, and you simple-minded people. I had a dream last night. Oh, yes, and it was a beautiful dream. I dreamed that I was on the front porch of the Double Cross Ranch, and my father, who's long since gone, was there in a swing, swinging with me. And up drove a long black limousine, and the left front fender was dented in, and the door opened, and out stepped a beautiful lady. And my daddy said, "Woman, what happened to your left front fender?" And she says, "I ran over some kind of an animal on the road. I don't know what it was." My daddy said, "Well, what did it look like?" And she says, "Well, it had great big ears, and it had nostrils, big, huge nostrils, about 5 inches apart. And it had horse teeth, and it smelled real bad." And my daddy said, "My world, girl, you must have ran over a jackass."
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard a snippet of the Terry Funk Beautiful Dream promo. It is a very, very sad time in the wrestling world because we are paying tribute to a legend, a literal legend in every sense of the word, GOAT, etc. Man, Brandon Tanguma is here with me today as we pay tribute to the Dirty Funker, the legendary Terry Funk. Brandon, how you doing today, man?
Well, Philip, I'm doing just as good as I can be. I got a big weekend ahead in wrestling, but unfortunately, it started off on a sad note with, as you said, the passing of the legendary Terry Funk. Kind of knew he was in bad health, but you always kind of thought he was going to kick out at 2, he's going to get better. But I mean, you said it, he's a legendary figure, and we throw like goats and cliches of like there's never going to be another one, but like truly there won't be another Terry Funk. He had such a legendary, interesting career. I mean, going back to the 70s, being in Texas, being, in the territories, then going into the 80s wrestling. Not only he was a opponent of Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, a legend in Japan with his brother Dory, and then a hardcore legend in Japan. Then he goes over to ECW. ECW might not be, probably won't be what it was if it wasn't for Terry Funk. Then obviously, goes back to the WWF, does the whole Chainsaw Charlie thing and the memes of never retiring, and Terry Funk, just absolute legend. And it sucks, but on days like today or yesterday, you can remember and watch some of his legendary stuff, and there's a lot of it.
Absolutely. I mean, he won the world title in the NWA World Championship in 1975, retired 42 years later in 2017 officially. I mean, unbelievable career. Like you said with ECW, the only person to hold the ECW title in both stages of ECW. He defeated Jimmy Snuka when it was still Eastern Championship Wrestling. And then, I just watched the triple threat he was in where he won the ECW title when ECW was really ECW back in 97. I mean, they had the, his retirement match with Bret Hart in 97 when Bret was the WWF champion at the time. I mean, Terry Funk was a huge part of the Beyond the Mat film that we all have seen. And I mean, look, we live in a culture now where deathmatch wrestling is a thing. It is probably as hot as it's ever been. That doesn't happen without Terry Funk. That doesn't happen without him and Onita in the exploding barbed wire match in Japan in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? And the stuff he was doing with Mick Foley in 95 and the barbed wire match that he had with Sabu, that famed match where Sabu splits his bicep open and he wraps it up to keep going. That match is with Terry Funk. I mean, just.
And I think that just kind of goes to show how evolutionary Terry Funk was. He always, he wasn't stuck in his ways. He was always able to adapt and do what he needed to do to be successful, get by. And, as I said, you see that from the 70s being the territory guy, going into the 80s being, even though he was facing Hulk Hogan on that Saturday Night's Main Event, when he could have been just, a cartoony cowboy type, but he was still kind of Terry Funk. And then obviously, later 80s, Ric Flair, WCW, NWA stuff.
89, yeah.
And then, obviously the deathmatch stuff is kind of what he's known for, I think, mostly now in like this kind of realm of wrestling fandom. But I mean, just all the different forms of Terry Funk. And I think he's just he's like the quintessential reason why I like wrestling. Just he makes it seem so real. He can talk a great game. When he wrestles. He was the complete package and a great person to boot. He was a great family man. He loved his daughters, his wife, and I mean, there's so many crazy stories of Terry Funk in the ring, but I haven't heard a bad story about him outside the ring.
Absolutely not. You never will. The tributes have poured in. I wrote something up. I hope I did him justice with my words. I wrote a career that spanned 5 decades that enthralled fans all across the globe, a true mastermind of the art form. All the different companies he worked for and runs he had is a body of work that has been and will continue to be studied for all eternity. Thank you, Funker. R.I.P. Terry Funk. I hope I did him justice with that. I mean, just look at the career longevity, and I've said this for a long time that Chris Jericho is the present day Terry Funk. All the different companies, all the different characters, etc. You know what I'm saying? I mean, another classic of his, the empty arena match. The empty arena match with Jerry Lawler. It worked so well. It spanned an empty arena match with The Rock and Mankind years later. Just in the Chainsaw Charlie stuff. And then, Terry Funk's going as hard as he did in 06 at ECW One Night Stand. Like just wild.
I think like maybe the last WWE appearance he made, he gave Dean Ambrose a chainsaw ahead of his WrestleMania match with Brock Lesnar.
Yes,
it's just like
yes.
The man was everywhere.
He was. He was. The impact will always be felt. I mean, WWE Hall of Fame, WCW Hall of Fame. He's a hardcore in the Hardcore Hall of Fame, NWA Hall of Fame. I mean, just the accolades that this man has are unprecedented. I mean, let's look at it. All Japan Pro Wrestling. He won the tag team league tournament 77, 79, 82 with his brother Dory. Cauliflower Alley. He was awarded in 05 championship wrestling from Florida, and he was a Florida heavyweight champion. He was a Florida tag champ, television champ, North American tag team champ, Southern heavyweight champ, ECW champ twice, television champ once. And of course, the big one, the NWA championship that he won back in 75. Pro Wrestling Illustrated said he had the feud of the year in 89 with Ric Flair. He was the most inspirational wrestler in 97. It was a wrestler of the year in 76. I mean, just a fantastic competitor. And all throughout this episode, we're going to sprinkle in a little bit of Terry Funk. We're going to sprinkle in some promos, man. Brandon, do you have a favorite Terry Funk promo or match or moment?
I mean, back in the day when we used to do the match pick and promo picks, I did like to do some Terry Funk ones, but the empty arena match, the promo, I think that one, and also kind of the promo that he does leading up to that, with him and Jerry Lawler and, talk about Memphis and everything. I just think that was like a prime Terry Funk, just, talking his ish and, back being just a crazed lunatic. And so I would probably say like that Memphis stuff is just kind of that stands out to me personally. I haven't been able to go back and kind of look at some stuff recently, but that kind of is the one that stands out to me right now. And I would say the death match stuff. I mean, his famed match with Onita, the exploding barbed wire death match, which, Moxley and Eddie Kingston tried to replicate, but unfortunately didn't happen in AEW. And so I would probably say those, the Memphis stuff and then the FMW stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, like the barbed wire match with Sabu sticks out. Like I just said, the Bret Hart match for the retirement show. Just so much stuff, man. Forever, when he's that promo where he's just bleeding and he's just yelling forever and ever. And shout out Baby Huey's brother Tommy, man. I mean, Tommy does a great Terry Funk. I'm sure this is hitting him hard. I haven't had a chance to talk to him, but Tommy does a great Terry Funk impersonation. Doing the forever promo, and I love it. I love it every time I hear it. But yeah, man, Terry Funk passed away at 79 years old. Unbelievable talent, unbelievable performer. There will literally never be another. Let's all celebrate Terry Funk. And I had to look back to make sure this was right. I wanted to get this on the show. When I interviewed Titus Alexander a couple years ago, I asked him what his favorite finisher was, and he said the spinning toe hold. of Terry Funk. Now, Titus was, 21 at the time? Think about that. Funk, his heyday was decades before, Titus was alive and doing this. And, for him to have an impact like that on somebody like Titus, who's at the top of his game now, it just speaks volumes. It really does. So shout out to the Dirty Funker, man. You will forever be missed.
Forever! Forever!